Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of the social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now, on the economic calendar, I don't see anything this week. I mean, there's just a couple things we know. I mean, we get JOLTS. Let's see. We get JOLTS job opening Tuesday at 10 a.m. Non-farm employment on Wednesday in the morning. And I mean, there's no Powell, just the regular stuff we get in the morning here and there. So no Powell, no Yellen, no Biden as of right now. So, I mean, that could change very, very easily. Biden's been speaking a lot throughout the day. He just randomly just shows up and just starts speaking, whether it's meaningful or not. But market reacts to it sometimes, so have to be on the lookout for that this week. But as far as that, no Powell, Yellen so far. Hopefully, we'll get some volatility now. I get some things on the watch list that I'll be watching for. One is I do have SPY up, and you know, I really think SPY is going to pull back. And the reason I think that is because of the VIX. The VIX is down here at the 20 level. And the last time it was down here at the 20 level, it popped right down in here. So we might get a little bit of a gap up on tonight with the futures, or tomorrow morning we might gap up a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a pop and drop kind of scenario, because there's a lot of people in calls because of this exaggerated move. Now, right now, SPY's been kind of oblivious about headlines and stuff like that. We still got the Ukraine war going on, a conflict, or whatever you want to call it, and we still have inflation and rates and stuff like that. So we still have a lot of things going on that SPY is ignoring, or practically priced in at this point. And you can tell that it's priced in because they keep having updates on Ukraine conflict with Russia, and they keep dropping more information. And SPY ignores it. Then Friday, when they have the Yemen missile strike on Saudi Arabia oil refineries, that SPY just freaked out. So it didn't price in that. It wasn't prepared for that. That was an anomaly it wasn't expecting, and that's why it freaked out. Right now, we got COVID shutting down a large portion of China, Shanghai City, and stuff like that. So COVID's ramping up again. I don't know if it will have much of an impact, if at all. It may freak out the market a little bit, but it's not going to go full-fledged freak out mode over COVID or Ukraine or anything else. Pretty much everything is pretty much expected. SPY likes to acts like a toddler. It's got the memory of a toddler, or I should say an attention span, where it reacts really quickly, then it just 5 minutes later forgets about it and just keeps going on its day and what it was doing. So I'll be watching for SPY. I mean, probably mostly likely both directions, but I am more watching it on the downside because VIX is getting really close to the 20 level, and I'm sure that VIX is going to pop. So I would watch SPY underneath the 450 level for a push down to the 445, 440, 435, 430, 425. It did fill the gap right here though, but pretty much all the gaps on the way down right here have been filled. So they when they have these gap ups, like right here, it had a gap up and it came back down and it filled the gap, then it started ripping. So they've been pretty good about filling the gaps. So I don't know if they're going to try to keep pushing it more and more. But when we got to the 450 level right here Thursday, I just pushed through it like it was nothing. And same with Friday. But we'll have to see what happens. I think it's going to be mostly news-driven week again. SPY's just going to keep grinding up, and unless something freaks it out. So I don't know if things get worse in the Ukraine, or Powell says something, or one of the Fed members says something. And even though the Fed members said some stuff last week about more rate hikes and more BPS, that we expect more basis points on the next few Fed meetings, and SPY just ignored it, like it didn't believe it and stuff like that. So you're gonna have to watch the headlines and see how SPY reacts to it. I think that's gonna be a big play this week. So yeah, I'll be watching SPY in both directions. I think VIX will be a huge play in that. Now another one I'm watching is Apple puts, not Apple puts, but Apple on the downside. The reason for that, look at the RCT trend line right here, right on the daily. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 red candles in a row. That's just insane. So it should put in a nice red candle hopefully tomorrow. And not only is it on the RCT trend line on the daily, but on the weekly too. That's what this orange line is right here, the regression trend line. So rejected on the daily and the weekly. At the weekly, so I think that we're going to see some kind of rejection right here, and it's right at the top of the Kellner channel. So I think Apple is at a high probability of pulling back. So actually, we just before I get into that, I'd watch it underneath 173 for push to 170, 168, 165. We can get this 163 level, 160. I'm not quite sure how low it will go, but definitely could see a push to 170 to 165 on Apple. And Cat is another one. I know Cat has been one that's been very tricky. Same thing as Apple. It's the weekly RCT trend line. It's rejecting right here. It's top of the Kellner channel. It does like to reject a little bit when it gets up here on the daily. So we'll have to see if that actually does pull back. So I'd watch underneath the 221 level. You can see 221, and for push down to the 220, obviously 220, 217, 218, 215, 210 area. Then you get this, you get a gap fill right down here, the 200 right here. So I'll have to see if it'll actually pull down. I get gap resistance right here, the 205. So we'll have to see if that will get down there or not. As you can see, the RCT trend line right here is at 210. Anytime this price gets away from this line right here, it gets too exaggerated above it, comes back down and meets it. Same here, 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 pulls back up to test it, comes back down, comes right back up. Now we're back up here. This thing is like a huge magnet, so I expect it to at least pull down to the 210 level on CAT. So watch for that. Now, a few things I'm watching on the bullish side. Now, I know that Tesla, I was watching Tesla all week last week for a pullback. I mean, I think that Tesla could end up going either or. I'd watch underneath this 995 level for a push down to the 975 to 960, 55, 960 to 950 level. But also, Tesla's one of these stocks where if it does manage to break out over the 1020 level, it's probably going to end up going to 1050 and $1,100 really fast. So I'd be watching it in both directions on Tesla. That is why I have it up there. I think that normally I'd be watching it for a drop, but Tesla just, when it gets strength, it just can act, stupid like SPY. So I'd watch it over that too. Hopefully, tomorrow's Monday. It's probably going to make a strong move tomorrow because of the options are going to be so expensive. But yeah, that's what I'll be watching on Tesla. Both directions, over the 1020 and under the 995 on that. BA is another one I'd be watching. Let's see, BA. Let's see. I'm just making sure my mic's working. Now, BA, it's still on this channel on the weekly right here. I cannot get out of this channel. It's been sitting in this channel since almost a year, 315. So it's been in this channel for almost a year. I'm thinking, if it does manage to get over this, let's see, 190 level, might get a push to 192, 193, 195. Then you get the 200 level. It's been struggling a little bit at the 200. It does manage to get over 200. You can see it push to 210 to even possibly 220. So, but we have this little trend line going here. Let me draw it. Let's see how it looks like right here. Yeah, see, we get this trend line right here going on the weekly and the daily. So if it sticks to the headline trend line, we can get to at least the 210 to 213 level. So assuming that it stays within this trend line. Now we can draw another trend line at the bottom so you can actually see that what it's doing right here. I think you can go like this. Yeah, right there. Nice little trend line right there. I don't need to draw trend lines. I can see it without drawing them, but it's staying within this trend line right here. I mean, obviously, if I was to put the regression channel up, the full thing, not just the line, the trend line, that it's staying within the regression channel on the daily. So yeah, I think that I'd be watching it over the 190 for push to 195, 200, 205 to 210 level, assuming that it stays within the channel and goes that way. So then Facebook is another one I'm watching. Facebook, it's going to start taking off here. We have our earnings too coming up in a few weeks, so we could start seeing some earnings runs. That's why I have Netflix on here at some point, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But it did get over the RCT trend line right here on the daily. It did get over it. The weekly is just starting to show strength, and it's just coming out of the oversold conditions. And the MACD is just starting to curl up. So we could see another larger run with Facebook. Now, Facebook could pull back to like 215 before go ripping higher, but I would watch it over 225. It's over 225. Next area to watch is 240 and gap resistance right here at the 250 level. Now, it might likely reject from that and pull back. So I would watch for that. And you get the middle Keltner, which is the 20 EMA on the daily, right around the 264 level. So it could end up going down to more like the 260. So which would be right around in here, assuming that the market's green and assuming that Facebook does take off. So this is with the assumption that SPY is taking off. That's why I make it bullish and bearish. Now, if SPY is weak, Apple will probably be the biggest one to look at. Except Apple's been kind of a trade. It's been a pain in the ass to trade. So it doesn't move that much, but once it does move really, really well. But sometimes it just does not like to move on me. So sometimes I avoid it. But the play is there if the SPY gets weak that Apple could have a significant drop. Now, Costco, it's just chopping up here over the RCT trend line near, all-time highs. And Costco is one of those stocks that, it can just start taking off. So I would watch it over 560 for a push to all-time high, which is 566. Actually, not 566. That's on the hourly. All-time high is 571. So, yeah, if it does get over this little consolidation range, we could end up seeing a push to 570. Now, if it does get over this 570, all-time high, 580, 600's in the play. Now, because when this takes off, as you can see right here, I'll blow it up. It did the same thing right here. But when it did break this level, it had a strong move up. So we could end up seeing this kind of a move up here, so on Costco. So I definitely keep an eye on that. Roku is another one. Roku is just starting to find some footing, but every time it starts to get a green candle on the weekly, it ends up getting crapped on. So you can still see the trend line right here that I drew, and probably could fix that. Probably could remove that and probably draw a better one on the daily. Oops. I mean, I don't really need to draw it, but I'm just doing it for you guys. You can see right here, it did break out of the trend line, and it came back to retest it. So, sorry. Yeah, it broke out right here. It came back and retested it. So I would watch over 127 for a push to 130. Now, if it does manage to give the 130, 135 area, probably next. Then you get this 140, 150. Now, we have not had that strong day on Roku in a long time where we has this 40-point move or a 30-point move. So we might get one if the market's strong. So if it does manage to get over this 127, we could end up seeing a push to 127, 150 in a single day, 150 plus. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of short sellers. We could have seen just a monster short squeeze on Roku. So we could see a $40 day just on Roku. But we'll have to see if that actually happens or not. Now Netflix, I said something about ER coming up. ER season's coming up in a couple weeks, and every time, well, I shouldn't say every time, mostly every time there's earnings that Netflix likes to run into earnings. So we might start seeing an ER run up here pretty soon in the next couple weeks. But I'd watch Netflix over, let's say 377 or even 380 if you were on a round up for a push to 385, 390, 400. So 400 would be a big psychological number. Then you just got the 450 level. Actually, 400. Get the 450. Oh, sorry, my stomach. 425 right in here on the weekly. So Netflix has been down quite a bit. I'm assuming it's going to have a nice pushback up to the 450, possibly even 500 level before earnings or by earnings or maybe during earnings. But we'll have to see if that actually happens or not. You get this gap to fill from the previous earnings right here. And I think they upped their prices a few times. So that may have an impact to their earnings too. So yeah, we definitely watch Netflix. Then Baba, I added this morning because I posted in the room that they are having a buyback. And anytime these big companies have buybacks, they've been getting hammered by the Chinese government. So they're having a buyback, trying to get the share price to go back up. So I would watch it over, I'd say over 115 for push to 120, 125. It does manage to get over this 125. Let's see 130, 140, 150. We get gap resistance right here in the 150 area. So it could end up rejecting right there. These buyback programs end up making stocks rip like crazy. So that would be one I'll be watching for the upside tomorrow. It's probably going to end up gapping up pretty big on that news. So I wouldn't be surprised if Baba ends up gapping up to 120, 125 on that news alone. So now I normally say when Baba has a huge gap up that I look for it short at open. That will not be the case tomorrow because I don't think it's going to, if it does drop, it might be just a buying opportunity to buy the dip because buyback programs could be just people selling at open tomorrow, taking their profits, and then it's just rocketing higher. So we'll have to see what happens. This week's going to be interesting, hopefully very volatile, especially with VIX getting near 20. I'd like to see the market pull back because I think that when the market does pull back, that the drops are a lot more violent than the pops, and we could end up seeing some really good plays this week. So that's going to do it for the watch list, and hope to see you in the room, though. So thank you for watching.